Trump disqualified from the Illinois ballot?
He had been disqualified by a judge. It wasn't the Illinois Supreme Court, so there would certainly be more appeals there. But the idea about disqualification on ballots more generally is before the Supreme Court as well. So I think that the real verdict on that will wait. We'll have to wait to see what the Supreme Court rules.
Some experts are now starting to say, because it was almost the standard line every time Donald Trump either walked in a courtroom or there was something mentioned about him, he'd get a sugar hit, he would get, even more support from his base. It is starting to take its toll in the eyes of many.
Yeah, well, the court appearances certainly helped him with his political base, which has helped him to secure renomination with the Republican Party. So that has redounded to his advantage. The problem is that these court appearances don't sit nearly as well with independent and moderate voters who he's going to need to win the general election. So while it has been beneficial to him thus far, once he's locked up the nomination, these repeated court cases are going to prove to be a little bit more of a drag, and particularly when coupled with decisions like we saw in New York, where his business interests were fined heavily for having engaged in fraud, and the possibility that the Republican Party will help him fund part of this settlement payment that he needs to make to the state of New York for the fraud charges. The concern there is that it could drain resources that Republicans will need not only to win the election, presidential election, but more importantly to help reelect Republicans to the House and to the Senate, where they hope to retain control of the House and gain control of the Senate.
I saw somewhere in an article that GoFundMe page that was set up by one of his supporters would probably cover the interest on what he owes about a weekly payment.
Yeah, so they managed to raise over $1 million for him on the GoFundMe page, which again shows that there is a very enthusiastic base of support for him in the small donor community. But the size of the settlement against him, over $500 million, and the interest that it accrues as he drags his feet on actually providing that money, it won't go very far.
No, absolutely. And McConnell resigning?
So I think this is a convergence of a couple different stories at the same time. Leader McConnell had been suffering a number of health issues, especially over the past year, and some were concerned that there were some cognitive issues emerging. He is, like many of the leaders in the Washington these days, in his 80s. But there's also the political concern of him being increasingly out of step, him being more of a Republican in the Ronald Reagan model, whereas the new Republican Party is more in the Donald Trump model. And the animosity between McConnell and Trump was becoming an increasingly large story in the story of the Senate. And that's a story that a lot of Republicans wanted to move past. So for both health reasons and for also political reasons, I think he's come to see that after this November, his time in leading in the Senate was probably a good time to bring it to a close.
Great to have you on the show again. We'll do it again soon.
All right. I look forward to it.